Welcome back to the Artefactors Union. I am your foreman, Douglas Scoundrels, and today we are assembling the Resurrectionist Honor Roll box for the Transmortis keywords. This box contains 4 models, A1 Valedictorian, this fine lady here, and 3 Students of Steel. There's 2, and there is the third one. Here's our renders. Valedictorian is got some big old wings, and then the Students of Steel have just a lot of pokey things. Let's look at the sprues. I forgot what my camera angle normally is supposed to be. So here we go. Now we've got 3 sprues for 4 models, which might seem a little weird, but the Valedictorian and this particular Student of Steel were the original models that came out in 2nd edition, and pretty early in 2nd edition. That's why we got these weird cylindrical sprues. And then once 3rd edition came around, or specifically Von Stuck and the Transmortis keyword, we needed additional ones because the minion became rare 3, which is why we have these 2 additional models. So we'll go ahead and start with the Valedictorian and then do the old Student of Steel, and we'll finish with the 2 new ones. Alright? Valedictorian isn't a whole ton of pieces, thankfully. So we'll go grab the torso, slap both legs on it, both arms, and then the head, and then we'll finish up by putting the wings on. Here's our torso. The right leg, which we'll do next, is the leg that is fully extended, whereas the left leg is the one that is bent. So let's do the right leg. Here we go back here, and since we're identifying stuff, let's say this is our right leg, that's our left leg. This will be our right arm, and this will be the left one, and you can kind of distinguish it because they have different sort of elbows. This one's extremely thin, and this one's a bit thicker with the little peg thing sticking out. That's how you can match it to the render. So, do this leg, then this leg, this arm, and this arm. And then the head and wings. Here's our right leg. It's a little wiggly, but as long as the same on the butt and the front look good to you, you should be fine. Now let's add the left leg. Well, I accidentally deleted the left leg bit, so you're going to see a preview of the right arm, but yeah, this one only just a little wonky to get it to interact with the right leg and still go on the spot fine, but as long as your seams look good, you are fine. Right, here's our right arm. Nothing too difficult, went in just fine. There is just a little bit of a gap on the back of the shoulder there, kind of hard to see, but you want to still maintain that gap. It exists on both the torso bit and the arm bit. As long as your seam is even, then you should be good. Let's add the left arm now. It's kind of just tucked in behind the Valedictorian's body. There it is from the back. Now, these connection points are pretty delicate. This is an M2E model and a fairly early one, so you really don't want to nudge these accidentally out of place. Now let's do the head on that top hole there. Had it went in just fine. Yeah, fairly easy. Just check and make sure that seam on the shoulder looks good enough to you. Now let's slap the wings onto the back there. You can see the hole. Oh, and it looks like besides that nice connection point there and the cat hair on my knife, excuse me, there seems to be a connection point right here, possibly where the butt goes, so you can put glue there too. There we go. It took a little bit of smushing to get it to really close that gap back there, but you can just push directly onto her torso and you should be fine. But yep, the butt is another connection point. We're done with Valedictorian. Valedictorian, all done. Not too difficult, just not used to such flimsy bits because of the age of this model. Still looks pretty good. Maybe a bit too much cheesecake for my liking, but still overall a good model. Nothing too difficult. Should be fine. Just don't snap the arms off or anything. Let's move on to the Students of Steel. Alright, here's our first and oldest Student of Steel. So old that was referred to as Iron Zombie B at some point. So we're going to kind of work our way from the top down this time. We'll do the torso, and then put on the head, the backpack, the exhaust for the backpack, and these tubes as well. Then the arms, both right and left. Then we'll add the legs and finish off with the foot. Yeah, I think that's a pretty good order. So, torso, head, backpack, pot, exhaust, tubes, right arm, left arm, legs, foot. There we go. There's our torso. Slot the head in up top. Kind of went on easy enough. Now, there's a big old hole on the back. That's where the backpack is going to go. And you should be able to tell that it's got like a lip that goes up. Yeah, hold on. Looking at it upright from the perspective of staring at the zombie head on, that little lip is going to go over the shoulders. So just glue it to the torso. There it is. Takes a little bit of force. It will connect to these tubes or pistons or whatever in the back of the head. Just check your seam and be happy with it. Alright, the exhaust pipes go in that little slot at the top of the backpack. I'm not entirely sure how the tubes are supposed to go yet. I think I need to have the arms on here just to be absolutely certain. So let's do the right arm, which is the one with sort of the knife jammed into its wrist. But, well, okay, yeah. Right arm, left arm. Right arm. And the left arm, which took a little bit of force to pop it in there. Wasn't too difficult, but I can definitely say that it might be better to do the arms before the backpack. It doesn't really matter as far as order outside of this. Left arm being slightly more difficult to get in there. Alright, now let's do the tubes. Okay, cool. I guessed right. Oops, wiggled the camera. Alright, so the pipes, tubes, whatever, one is going to connect here, and the other one is going to connect here, and then they sort of meet together at this elbow. So our 3 points of contact are the elbow right here and right here. Let me just show you what it looks like. Yeah, there we go. Right, you can see the spot it's connected. You can see where it actually touched melted plastic. Whoops. You can see where this one goes, and then it just fits nicely onto the elbow here. Yeah, okay, so you don't need to do the right arm. You could do the torso, the head, the left arm, backpack, the exhaust, then the pipes, tubes, and then the right arm. I think I like that order. Let's give them legs. I'm clipping out the legs. Make sure you don't take off this little nub here. It's important to the connection point of the foot. But, yep, that's where our torso will jam in right there. Huh. I think our zombie friend is wearing chaps. There's from the front. Now let's add the extra weird claw foot thing. Well, there's the foot, completing the weird anime girl pose. That extra nub I told you to not clip off, it just gives it more surface area to connect to. I think the nub itself specifically goes in the gap right between the ankle and the sort of metal heel plate thing. But anyways, explanation's not very good. It's just going to give you more to glue to the foot. That's it. All done. Our first Student of Steel is done. Student of Steel number 1. I'm going to call this one Frick. Hardest part was probably that left foot, as well as figuring out the order of operations, order of assembly, whatever, on the tubes on the backpack. So a quick reminder of that order. You grab the torso, put the head on, do the left arm, the backpack, the exhaust, and then the tubes. And then you can do the right arm, the legs, and the foot. Moving on. Our second Student of Steel is the one with the most bits, I think. At the very least, the most space on the sprue. It's going to be all of these parts. These last 2 columns are for the last one. And I just remembered that there are, in fact, instructions online. And so I'm going to kind of use those as a reference. So we'll grab the torso, we'll slap the right arm on, and then glue that to this big part of the coat, body, head, and all that jazz. And do the left arm, this part of the cloak, and one of the many mechanical swords. Then this other one that is also part of the cloak and a mechanical sword. And then figure out where all these go, because they all just jam into this guy's back. Alright, let's grab the torso. A6. There it is, and we're going to immediately ignore my initial thought, and we're going to immediately glue him to the big old cloak piece, which is A10. When they are combined, there is not only that connection point on the back, but also, like, the entire left leg is another connection. Well, the back of the left leg is another connection point. But anyways, now let's do the right arm, which is A8. And that's going to go right in here, where an arm should go. I don't really like that connection, but I'm not entirely sure how to fix it, if I'm perfectly honest. I'm pretty sure it's going to be covered up, or mostly covered up. But the next piece we're going to do, or the second piece we're going to do, really, at some point, there's a part of the cloak that's going to cover most of that up, but I think the issue is that the seam on the neck is not really going to be able to be fixed unless you decide to instead adjust how it's connected to the right leg, and that just, I mean, the left leg, and that just looked too good. So anyways, that's good. As long as it's sort of in the same spot on the chest, I think you'll be fine. Just ignore that little gap in the shoulder there. Okay, let's now do the other arm, which is A7, or, yeah, A7. Scratch that. A9 needs to go on first, which is the big rest of the cape and sword arm. So it'll go on like that. Yeah, there we go. Goes on fairly nicely, and now you see the nice little hole that you're going to jam the left arm into. Alright, easy peasy. Okay, now let's get the rest of the cloak on the other side, which is A1. I can't even see that gap anymore. Cool. This part, a little rough to get into place, mostly because the connection point, while fairly long, is very narrow and easily able to just nudge incorrectly. You just gotta take your time with it, make sure the seam is very small and that it flows nicely from one bit to the next and looks like one whole cloak. Now let's turn around and do the rest of his stabbing arms. Alright, there are 4 slots on the back. We have bottom right, bottom left, top right, top left, and those correspond to A5 is our bottom right, A4 is our bottom left, A2 is our top right, and A3 is our top left. A5 went in just fine. Just make sure the angle's pretty similar. Excuse me, let's do A4 the bottom left now. There's A4. This angle is a lot more guesswork. Just trying to match the render, and figured that it was probably pointed opposite the way the A7, or A5, sorry, is. Alright, let's do A2, which is the upper right now. There it is, almost mirroring exactly the other one on the right. This was a little bit harder to just get into place. User and I have to just poke it until it sits in there correctly. Let's do our last bit. Gotta find the number here. Ow! Stab myself. A3. And last one's matching the sort of front left arm more than the back left one. Anyways, yep, lots of stabby arms. We're done. Alright, all done with our student of steel number 2. We're going to call him Carnegie. Hardest parts were the order of assembly. The order I currently think is best is you add the torso to the big cloak piece, and then you do the right arm, and then the left part of the cloak, and then the left arm, and the right part of the cloak that covers up the right arm, and then all the stabby arms on the back. What does he even do with those? Like, they're not long enough to Dr. Octopus around or anything. Maybe they're just real close range stabbies or something. I don't know. He just thinks they're cool. Moving on. Our last of the Steely Dans. It's going to be considerably fewer pieces than the last one. We're going to go ahead and grab the torso and the backpack, and then the exhaust stacks. The left hand, right leg, and left leg. Grab B1. Here's B1, now add B5 on the back. Now for orientation, this side pouch thing on the proton pack is near the top right. Let's add the exhaust pipes, which are, checking my bit numbers, B6. Yep, and then we'll just go in this slot right here with the pipes going up. Fits in nice and snug. Now let's add the right hand, which is B4. Right hand, make sure this tube pipe thing connects to the sort of blocky thing on the wrist. You should be good. Just check your seam. Now let's do the right leg, which is B3. Voila. And our left leg, B2. Hey, now just make sure it and the right leg fit flatly on a surface and you're done. Student of Steel, number 3. I'm going to call him Schwab. Hardest part, really just the feet, making sure that they are flat on the ground. Other than that, just a really easy build. Alright, let's look at the whole box. We've completed the honor roll box. It's got the Valedictorian, Student of Steel number 1, 2, and 3. Hardest parts of this build really was student number 2 took the most of the issues. Figuring out the tubes on student 1 was also kind of difficult. Only real problem with the Valedictorian is just how flimsy her arms are, and then literally nothing hard about student 3. It's a nice kind of way of showing how the models have advanced over the years, because I just found out that actually these are 1.5 models, the Valedictorian and the first student, and then the other two are brand new to 3rd edition, I believe. And just how a little bit of extra thickness makes them a lot sturdier than their prior counterparts. Alright, I have been your foreman, Douglas Scoundrels, helping you build a better Malifaux. Enjoy your zombies.